Hi, my name is Clayton Latouche, Director of Education for the Toronto District School Board, and I'm pleased to be here at William Lyon MacKenzie Collegiate Institute for Latin America History Month celebration.
I'm going to speak in my traditional language, and sometimes when I speak in my language, people think I'm speaking Spanish. But in addition to speaking Spanish and English, I also speak my original language, which is one of the oldest languages of the continent and what we call Turtle Island. So, Hanik, Chinti Hoshli Diyet Yamalilhan, Oshnikul Neyeyi, Algalokom Itzat In Yan, Ashaklah Hinan, Ushantiosh, Tetsanakom Ichoch, Tetsanakom Itzakan, Ushantiosh Pishan Ak, Ushantiosh Ishmokele, Ushantiosh Ishmoko, Ushantiosh Kepeo, Ushantiosh Kukumat, Ushantiosh Pelukana, Ushantiosh Animosh, Ushantiosh Parinach Paya Tiempo, Ushantiosh Mamichnam, Ushantiosh Miichnam, Ushantiosh Mame, Ushantiosh Mie, Ushantiosh Ahau, Kablakun Heb Ish, Ushantiosh Ahau. So my Spanish name is Maria Ines Montejo, but I carry what we call a traditional name or a spiritual name that is given to you when you're born, and it's given to you to help you understand who you are in this world and what you're meant to accomplish. So my spirit name was given to me by my father, who was a fluent speaker of our traditional language, and he called me Altalom Itzat. Altalom refers to a tiny, tiny little bird that flies to the top of the tallest trees and starts to sing. And when this little bird sings, it grabs everybody's attention and they follow the little bird to the seeds. Aute in the language means to call, Lom means my responsibility. And the second part of my name, Itzat, was actually added. So alongside my mother and father, I was also mentored in healing and spiritual practices of our people for 25 years by a beautiful woman by the name of Diane Hill, the Jijiwaks from Six Nations. And she's been in Gahaga or Mohawk. And she lives about an hour and a half from here. And she raised me according to her people's teachings because I grew up here in the north, so I needed a teacher that would help me fulfill my life's purpose. And in her teachings, they have the Gayana Lagoa, the great law of peace. And within that, they have the Ganingo Leo, or the good mind, the spiritual intelligence. And so she asked my father, can you find a word that is the same as the Ganingo Leo? And my father found the word Itzat. So I'm the little bird that uses my voice to call you back home to the wisdom that's inside of you. And I come from what are known as the Maya Hokti. So the word Mayan doesn't really refer to much. It's an anthropological word, a word that historians and researchers from the West use to describe people of Central America. But we have our own names for our nations and how we understand ourselves. So there's the Quiche, the Kakchel, the Witsuwil, the Popomam, the Mam, the Ishil, and the list goes on. And my people are known as the Opti. And the first part, O, refers to these mats that the grandmother is weaving together, that represents the weaving together of perspective and community. And the T part represents the spoken word. So we were known as the Opti, the people that would speak on these sacred mats. And it's our people's tradition to always name the first grandfather and the first grandmother that birthed our nation into being. So the Bokti come from a grandfather and a grandmother, and their names are written in the traditional form on the screen. So the first grandfather is Baluk Ana, and the first grandmother is Animosh, and they birthed the Bokti lineage here in this beautiful sacred river. This is a picture I took in February when I was back in my community leading ceremony for my family. And this is a beautiful, beautiful crystal blue river, and this is the birthplace of the Maya Bokti lineage. This is my homeland. This is where I get to go and spend time with my family. So I was asked by the committee, as I am most years, to come and share an Indigenous perspective. The term Latin American doesn't really capture who we are as indigenous people, and it's a colonial term. But I'm always so thankful when young people, when individuals that are part of a committee are conscious that there's a limitation with terms and always take the time to reflect and to bring forward indigenous voices that for a long time were erased or ignored. And so oftentimes when I was your age, people would assume that I was Latin American or Hispanic. But both terms are connected to Spain, and I have nothing to do with Spain except that they colonized and hurt my people. And so my people originate on what we call the American continent today. So when I was praying in the morning and I was smoking my pipe and giving thanks to creation and asking the Creator to help me understand what I can share with you today, this is what came to me, and I hope that it's helpful for your heart. So I'm a little tired, and if you talk to me, my energy is really low, and that's because I've been traveling everywhere for the last couple of weeks. And Derek was laughing, he said, "Did you just get off the plane?" And I said, "No, close though." But I was just in Colombia, and I sit on a council of indigenous spiritual leaders of this continent. And I was invited amongst many leaders who are recognized by their community to one of the most sacred places on the continent, to a place called Gunmaku. And Gunmaku is Arhuaco people's territory. And they invited spiritual leaders from the world to have a conversation on their sacred land. And the word Gunmaku means where the seed germinates. And they wanted all of us to come together on the mountains of the Sierra Nevada in Colombia and to talk about what's happening in the world and how we can support each other as indigenous people. In this picture, you're going to see the young man, Damian. You're going to see Hermano Felix, and you're going to see Mamo David, who's a spiritual leader. And they were leading the event amongst their people. And we gathered for 5 days around the fire, and we talked about what's happening on our lands, in our communities, and across the world as indigenous people, and those that wanted to support us. And it was a very, very powerful gathering, and I wanted to share a little bit of what they said, because my job is to bring those messages to spaces like this, where often people forget that there are original peoples, original nations, and indigenous nations across this continent, and it's really important to center them. So this is the territory we went to visit, and for the world, it's considered the heart of the world. And I don't know if you can see, can somebody tell me if they can see that black line? Yeah, you can scream it out. Yeah, that line is all of the protected area where we were, that's considered the heart of the world, because all of the different climates and ecosystems in the world can be found in that region. And the people, the Arhuaco people, the Kogi people, the Liwa people, the nations there are protecting that territory. But they're always under threat from corporations, institutions that continue to threaten the ecosystem there. And it's part of my job to remind people that indigenous nations, we only have about 5% of the land across the world, but we protect 80% of the biodiversity of the world. So you may not know that we continue to exist. You may feel uncomfortable with the acknowledgement of indigenous people and what you refer to as Latin America, but every single day we are protecting the water, the air, and the land for your grandchildren. The fact that I speak my language, do my ceremonies, protects the land every day for you. And so we gathered in their sacred sites, and this is one of the grandmothers, and she's doing a prayer with water. And when I was thinking about all of you young people, I wanted to share this experience with you. Because the world you're going to have, this world, it's going to be you one day that's standing up here in France. And it's my job to show people that as indigenous nations, we're still praying really hard for the future. And they asked every indigenous spiritual leader to bring forward something from their nation. And my father is still alive, and so I sat with my dad in ceremony and I said, Dad, what do I bring to this sacred site for our people, for our nation? And he said, Maria, I want you to bring this beautiful little seed. Has anybody heard of this seed, the chipilin seed? If you're from Central America, for sure. I'm looking at you, Mark. But in our language, we call it abin. And my dad gave me a handful of these seeds to take. Because he said, Maria, when colonization happened, and then when the genocide happened in the 80s, we went up into the mountains, and this little seed kept us alive because it grew in the mountains. And the people of the Sierra Nevada, the Arahuaco people, also had to flee to the mountains that protected them during the conflict in Colombia. He said, take them these seeds and show them that we understand what they've been through. So I took these seeds, and they were really happy because they're going to grow them. But I wanted to share this with you because there was a big conversation. There was also representatives from Canada, from First Nations, from Winnipeg, that smoked their pipes with the indigenous people of Central and South America. It was the prophecy of the eagle, the quetzal, and the condor, the slide you saw at the beginning. The reason those birds are represented. But I wanted to share this with you because you guys are talking about indigenous or reclamation or connection to identity. And one of the things that was talked about by the indigenous spiritual leaders that gathered was that they feel there's another threat to indigenous people in today's modern world. And we are defending the land from exploitation. We are defending the land from more colonization. We are protecting the water, the earth, the trees, the airs, the animals. But there's one more wave coming at us. And there was a Mapuche grandmother. Mapuche people are the indigenous people of what's known today as Chile. And she stood up and spoke from her heart. And she said, there's another wave of colonization coming. And this new wave is called cultural appropriation and the appropriation of indigenous spirituality, ritual, ceremony by the world. And there is a genuine concern that as people, as the world starts to get disappointed with the Western systems and structures that are not working, they're concerned about people turning to indigenous identity and spirituality and practices as a way to run away from the responsibility of looking at the world that we've created. And it took me 25 years to be mentored, to be taught our ceremonies, our healing practices. And for the grandmothers, there was a concern that many people are coming back to indigenous identity, but what they're doing is they're going for a weekend in the Amazon, and then they come back to the north and they're healers. And I said, what? It took me 25 years. How come I didn't know about this crash course, right? I say it jokingly, but there's a real concern. But there was something else really beautiful that happened. They had young people that were initiated into a youth council representing all our nations. And so when I was on this land, I prayed and I said, what can I share with the world so there isn't so much exploitation, so much taking away, so much consumerism, not only of material stuff, but also of indigenous practices. Is it okay with you if I share a quick teaching from my ancestors? That all right? Thumbs up if it's cool. All right, here we go. One of the most important questions that you're going to ask yourself in the next couple of years when the earth starts to change and the systems and structures start to crumble because they're not sustainable, they're not healthy, is who am I? And the answer to this question has nothing to do with your personality. That was disappointing for me because I think I'm really funny. And to figure out that who I am has nothing to do with my humor was really sad. It also has nothing to do with being indigenous. It has nothing to do with being tall, smart, short, grumpy, not grumpy. Is it okay with you if I share a little bit of what might help you answer this important question? Is that okay? All right. Can anybody tell me what half of 13 is? Anybody just scream it out? Yeah, so you go to what we call a Western school. So in this school they say 6.5. But does anybody remember what nation I come from? Anybody? I come from anybody? I haven't heard it. I heard it somewhere. I come from the Mayan people, and we have a different mathematics. So I'm going to share a little. The half of 13 for Mayan people is 7. And the reason it's 7 is because we start counting from 0, not from 1. 0 is the most important number for the Mayan people. And NASA finally caught up to our mathematics in 1960, and they also follow our count now. Because our count tells you how to connect to the universe. All right, so are you with me? This is important. 0 equals 20. Can you remember that? How much does 20 equal? 0. Awesome. All right. All of these symbols are representations of 0 and 20. And I'm going to go through them really quick. The first one is a seashell. Why? Because when you grab a seashell, put it on your ear, you hear shh. That's infinite. 0. The next picture is a flower. When we receive a flower at a birth, at a communion, at a ceremony, graduation, wedding, something happens in our heart where we feel connected. The next picture is a face with a hand over the mouth. It represents silence, meditation, and contemplation, which is how you access 0. Now, can anybody tell me the last picture? What do you see there? Here's a close-up. What is that? It's a human being. Okay, how much does 20 equal? 0. Cool. Now we're going to add one more thing. 20 equals 0. 20 and 0 equal a human being. Can you remember that? So where do you find the 20 in your body? Right here. You got 10 fingers that pull down the energies from the sky world, and you got 10 toes that pull up the energies from the earth, and when they cross, you hear that's your heartbeat. So you are the equivalence of 20, and 20 equals 0. You are the energy of the sky and energy of the earth coming into convergence. All right, 20 equals how much? 0. And humans are. So right now, all of the staff members are going to get nervous because they realize I just told their students that they're 0. But remember, for the Mayan people, 0 is the most important number. In this school, 13 is 6.5, half of it, because 0 is empty, it's not important. But for Mayan indigenous mathematics, 0 is the most important number, and it's not empty, it's a representation of being complete. It's a representation of totality and fulfillment. So if you are complete and equivalent to 0, what's missing? Anybody? What's missing? Nothing. Did you know that about yourself? Did you know that nothing is missing inside of you? Did you know that you're enough? Did you know that the whole entire universe is being expressed through a little vessel called you? So maybe now we can stop buying so much stuff. Maybe now we can stop taking so much stuff because nothing's missing in you. And when it comes to indigenous people on the mountains, what the elders told us is our entire existence and identity has nothing to do with making ourselves bigger and better. It has nothing to do with making ourselves grander or more important in the world. It has everything to do with protecting creation. So if you're going to reconnect to indigenous identity, spirituality, community, make sure that you understand that it means a responsibility in your heart. And the responsibility is to one being that is the most important. And that being is our mom, the earth. My identity has nothing to do with cultural diversity. My identity as an indigenous person has everything to do with the protection of our mother and the falling in love with the natural world and creation. And if you're interested in that responsibility, then yes, please, engage with indigenous people. But if it's just about making yourself bigger, shinier, and taking more, then just leave us alone. We'll be all right. So I thank you for your time, and I thank you for listening to me. And to the young people, if anybody ever tells you that you don't have enough or that you're not enough, you just remember that for Mayan indigenous people, that's mathematically incorrect. So thank you and have a beautiful day.
Good morning, everyone. It's wonderful to be here celebrating Latin Heritage Month. Pleased to see so many of you here. I understand that there are grade 6 students from 3 of our feeder schools in the area, as well as students from this school, William Lyon MacKenzie. I was pleased to be speaking with staff member here and hearing about all the exciting things that happen here at William Lyon MacKenzie and how all cultures and all individuals are valued in the range of opportunities that are offered. And we saw some of that on display here. Mr. O'Brien, let's give Mr. O'Brien and his students another round of applause for that fantastic scene. I was really pleased to hear the land acknowledgement this morning, especially the part about zero, that each of you, each of us is zero, and zero is complete. That means for you, and in terms of who and what we're celebrating here today, Latin Heritage Month, that for our Latinx students in TDSB, each one of you is complete in who you are, in who you represent, in what you are. That nothing is missing from you, and that it is the responsibility of the board to honor who you are, to celebrate who you are, and to give you every opportunity to achieve your potential. I am just so pleased at all the contributions that Latin and Latinx people make to Canada and make to this board, and it is my privilege to work with everyone in the board to make sure that every student is lifted up, to make sure that every student meets their potential, and that every student achieves and has a great sense of belonging. And events such as this are one way to help accomplish that, to highlight the heritages that are represented in the board, and to make sure that each one is recognized and celebrated. But it's really important that it's not just about what happens at the event annually, but it is about what happens every day. Making sure that in a school like this, and in every one of our schools, each student knows that they are walking into a school where they will be welcomed, where they will feel like they belong, where they will know that they belong, and where they will know that they're being supported to achieve and celebrated in who they are. And yes, we love the food, but it's more than about the food. And yes, we love the language, but it is more than about the language. It's about everything in you. It's about everything that you bring. And it's about everything that you contribute. And we're so grateful for the opportunity to celebrate Latin Heritage Month for another year. And we look forward to celebrating this every single year and to celebrating this every single day. But again, more importantly, we look forward to making sure that every student has this great sense of being honored and belonging every single day, not just on the day that we choose to celebrate. Congratulations on the journey continuing, and may we continue the journey. Have a great rest of the celebration.
Hi everyone, good morning. My name is Derek Chica. And I'm one of the co-chairs for Latin America History Month at the Toronto District School Board. I'm also a program leader for guidance at Emory Adult Learning Center, which is an adult high school for students who are new to the country or getting some more courses in high school. But more importantly, I'm actually here as a parent, a TDSB parent to 2 children, one of which is right here, Tatiana right at the front, and my other one is 3 years old, who should be entering TDSB next year. And I'll let Mark introduce himself.
Hi there. I'm a teacher here at William Lyon MacKenzie, and like Derek, perhaps more importantly, I am a parent of 4 children, 3 of whom were born in Ecuador. I met my wife while traveling and living in Ecuador. Living in Canada, I felt that it was important to connect my children to their culture and history, and as a teacher at the TDSB, I feel the same desire to support students in their expression and celebration of culture and their search for equitable opportunities every day.
So I wanted to talk a little bit about my story, my family's story. Just in case it helps some of you connect to it, maybe we share similar stories. So I was born in Toronto. That's one thing that a lot of people sometimes assume because I'm Latin American, I was not born in Canada, but I was born here in Toronto, grew up in Toronto. My parents from a small town in Ecuador named Quirón. Is there anyone here from Quirón or Ecuador? Ecuadorians? Nobody. Okay. That was my high school. I went to high school in your region, and there was not a lot of Latinos there. I remember growing up that my parents always told me to remember where we came from. Does anyone else parents, do they say that to you? To remember where you came from, remember your family's history? My grandfather left Ecuador looking for a better life after a U.S.-backed military coup removed the elected president, and my grandfather was elected to represent Quirón. As I grew up, my parents would bring me back to Quirón and show me the humble homes and the farms that they grew up in. My mom literally lived in the sort of top part of a farm house. My mom had 14 brothers and sisters, and they all lived together in one room up there while they did farm work. I loved going back to Ecuador as a child. I saw it as a trip, but never really understood the importance of this family history for my identity here in Canada. Now that I have my own children, I decided I wanted to pass this family history on to them. I remember the lessons I learned about colonization and what Spain did to my ancestors in Pachamama. I remember learning about imperialism and how international greed played an unfortunate role in the history of Latin America as a whole. It's for this reason that we reference the book, The Open Veins of Latin America, in our public message for Latin America History Month. And if you have a chance, I encourage everyone here to consider reading that book, to learn a little bit more about Latin America and the histories of our homes or our ancestors' homes. This year, the theme our committee decided on was Our Journey Continues, Abriendo Caminos. We must remember that the journey we are all traveling in life is a continuation of the journey our ancestors trekked before us. Maybe we are choosing a different path, or maybe we are continuing the same path, or maybe we are sitting and reflecting on the paths that were trekked before and where we should go. Regardless, our individual family histories have influenced us in some way. So I ask you to reflect on your family histories, and the told and the untold, and pave a path for generations that will come after you. Together as a larger community that shares similar stories tied to the lands known as Latin America, Pachamama, or Abya, we can overcome the challenges of colonization, racism, oppression, displacement, and migration. We can show up for one another and support each other in school and beyond. We can and always should speak our truths and seek justice in a world that we may feel is unfair. And we must always reach around and open pathways for others who may be less privileged or who may be in less privileged or unfortunate situations. Do what you can and have a happy Latin America History Month.
I would like to bring attention to the poster that we have made for the Latin American History Month. I don't know if you've seen it or you've noticed that there are 3 important birds on the poster. In the north, there's the eagle, which is a sacred animal to various indigenous nations on Turtle Island. And then I'm going to jump to the south, South America. There is a condor, which is on the bottom part of the continent. Latin America, they think of the Americas as one continent. So the bird is sacred to a variety of indigenous nations to the south, mostly in South America. And then in the middle, there's a bird with a long tail, the quetzal, which is sacred to indigenous nations to the south, mostly in Central America. And I think Maria would be able to speak about the Quetzal better than me. And interestingly, the Quetzal is said to symbolize the Incan prophecy of reunification of the North and the South, and when they fly together, the Earth will awaken. Thank you. Happy Latin American History Month.
Good morning. My name is Denise Humphreys, System Superintendent in Teaching and Learning. I am so pleased today to be here at William Lyon MacKenzie Collegiate to celebrate Latin American History Month. Today our launch gives us a great opportunity to support Latin American communities throughout our system. The students and families that attend TDSB schools have a rich history and culture, and they share it with their colleagues, with their peers, every single day. I'm so happy to be here at this launch, and I look forward to celebrating with all of our student communities.
Hola, mi nombre es Matías de Ovitis, y por muchos años, for many years, I have worked with the Latin American community in Toronto to build up our resources and our capacity to build up education opportunities as a founder and board member for Conocer and Teach and Learn. And it's my pleasure to celebrate with the community our heritage during October. As a matter of fact, I helped to shape the process that got us to the place where we can all share this month collectively, and it's been one of my proudest moments to be able to do that work. I'm hoping and wishing everyone learn something new about the culture, about the history, and that we can all continue to share and continue to collectively build our community for a better future.
Hi there, my name is Mark O'Brien. I'm a teacher here at William Lyon MacKenzie, and I'm one of the co-chairs with Derek Chica of the Latin American History Month. And today is our inauguration of the month of October, and we're hosting it here at William Lyon MacKenzie. And it's a pleasure to be part of the program and to have collaborated with the excellent group that we work together on this. I am originally from Scotland, but my connection to Latin America is I lived in my wife's country for 7 years, Ecuador, and my first 3 kids were born there. So I feel, they're all adults now, but I feel a deep connection to Latin American culture, history, and I want to offer to students opportunities that allow them to express their culture and find equitable opportunities so that they can express themselves as Latin Americans. Today we have the Director of Education coming, and we have a woman by the name of Maria Montejo. She is a Mayan First Nations speaker who's going to talk to us about indigenous spirituality from her perspective in Guatemala. And we have, I teach grade 10 Spanish, so we have a choir. We're going to sing 3 songs. And there's a few speeches by different people. We have a quick sort of social mingling with empanadas and food to begin the event.
Hi, my name is Derek Chica. I'm the co-chair of the Latin America History Month Planning Committee. We are here at William Lyon MacKenzie Collegiate Institute in the Toronto District School Board, and I'm really excited to be here as the co-chair of the committee, as a lead guidance counselor in Toronto, but more importantly, as a parent of 2 children in the Toronto District School Board. It's very important for me to help support our community in learning about Latin America History Month and helping the TDSB learn about Latin America history, because for my children especially, I want them to grow up learning about their histories, learning about their family histories, learning about their ancestors and the neighbors of their ancestors, and all the struggles and things that we've overcome together as a community in Latin America. So please have a happy Latin America History Month and do what you can for our community.
Wishing everyone a happy Latin America History Month. Let's celebrate together, learn something, and continue to build our community together.
Happy Latin America History Month.
Happy Latin America History Month, everyone.